Rise and shine, it's espresso time. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and successful people don't wake up every day and say, yes, today is going to be amazing. The difference is they have a powerful morning routine, like watching one of these videos, that set them up for success. So let's start your day off right together, grab your coffee, and get ready for a shot of espresso from Tom Bilyeu.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso keep me going.
I wake up every morning.
I get this question so much you can't imagine. How do I find my passion? The good news is, passion is not something that's handed to you. It is not a lightning bolt moment. It's another nice, simple mathematical equation. First of all, you need to identify your areas of interest. Everybody's interested in something. And I find the big problem is people stop themselves because they say, yeah, well, the thing that I'm interested in couldn't possibly be a business. So let's take video games back in the 80s. Back when everybody thought that video games were a joke, you're ruining your brain, it's like intellectual candy, kids get off the computer, go play outside, Nintendo's a joke, it's ridiculous. And then we have an entire industry now that's born up around video games that has made untold numbers of millionaires. I met one of the founders of Riot Games that created League of Legends. The guy is like, I don't know, 31, maybe younger. I mean, just crazy. They do $1 billion in revenue from microtransactions of things that are not essential to play the game. The game is totally free to play. You don't need to pay for anything. Imagine that for a second. You're in an industry where they don't need to buy anything to get full use of your game, and yet you do over $1 billion in revenue because they said, I love this. I like being around games. I like the competition of it. I think it's amazing. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to be inventive. I'm going to look for areas to add value. And so they have. And more people now watch esports, the finale of League of Legends, than watch the finales, I think, of all major sports combined. It's crazy. They fill arenas. It's absolutely bonkers. But that was somebody who said, this is something I love. It's something I want to be around. It is an area of interest. And I don't care if other people tell me that it can't be a business. It's what I want to be around. With enough ingenuity and enough forethought into what actually can be a business, because some things can't, you can really do something with something that's an interest. All right, so an interest, you need to gain mastery in it. During the process of gaining mastery, you'll find out whether you actually like that thing enough to become great at it. It is my belief, whatever it is you set out to do as a business, there should be one litmus test. You should be able to ask and affirmatively answer the following question. Do I want to know more about this than anyone else in the world? Don't get into something unless you plan to be the best. That's my piece of advice. I know that's not going to sit well with everybody. But if you want to have the passion to make something big, to make big change, it's got to be something that you believe in beyond reasonable doubt. It's got to be something you've just got to make happen. So ask yourself, do I want to know more about this than anyone else? Because you're going to have to get better at it than anyone else if you want to be excellent and deliver on the promise. All right, interest over time plus mastery equals passion. That's how you find your passion.
I'm going to teach you the entrepreneur success formula. This is the formula. It's very simple. It's easy to apply. That when you actually execute it, it will change the course of your life and your business. The entrepreneur success formula. Are you ready? You need to, if you want to have success as an entrepreneur, combine what you love doing with what brings value to other people. People mess this up. What you love doing with what brings value to other people. In that intersection is your next great, genius, amazing business idea. Here's what most people do. Most people just pick one. Most people either pick what they love doing, but they can't figure out how to bring value to other people, so you've got a hobby. If you love doing something, it just fills you up, it's amazing, but it never brings value to other people, then you never get paid. You've got a really fulfilling hobby. And that could be great. And your hobby can be something you do in the evenings and weekends, and it fills up your soul, but you'll never turn that into a business if you don't figure out how to bring value to other people. So you're stuck always having to have a job or go work for somebody else while you're doing your hobby on the weekends, evenings, on the side, etc. So those are the people who just chase what they love doing, right? They chase your passion. Amazing. There's other people, a lot of entrepreneurs who just go after the money. Just try to bring value. Just go after opportunity, right? That's the only focus. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. I need to be a millionaire by the time I'm X years old. I'll do whatever it takes, but you won't. You will not do whatever it takes. Because as soon as it gets hard, you're going to lose. And the problem is you're going up against people who love it. Pick whatever industry. You open up a magazine or website. It shows you the hottest businesses for next year. These are the industries that will take off and you have to get into it. It's like, oh, wow, that's hot. I'm going to go off and do those things. If you don't absolutely love it, right? This part here, if you don't actually love it, what you love doing, what it brings value to other people, if you don't absolutely love it, you're going to lose because you're going up against people who do love it. If it's just a strategy for you, but for other people, they love it, you're going to lose every time. You're going to lose every time. Because while you're counting the hours and while you're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, when is this going to pay off? You're going up against people who aren't even tracking it, who get lost in it, who 12 hours later, they're still doing a thing because they love it so much and they can't believe that, like, where is the time gone? So it has to be in that combination. So many entrepreneurs start a business because they think they're going to make a lot of money and they end up going broke. And it wasn't because the idea was bad. The idea could have been fantastic. The problem was you didn't love it enough. You didn't care about it enough. It was just a strategy. It was just an opportunity for you instead of being actually something that you love. So the entrepreneur success formula, you start with doing what you love and then you figure out how to bring value to other people doing it. Another way I like to explain it is your heart and your head. So you make the big decisions in life with your heart and the small ones with your head. What you work on, what you do, what you're spending your time on day in, day out has to be heart driven. It's got to be something that fills you up with so much joy. But then your head needs to be part of the equation too, to say, okay, heart, that's great that you love doing this thing, but how are we going to make money? How are we going to bring value to other people? So you make the big decisions with your heart. And then you use your head to figure out how to make it actually practical. So you're not just daydreaming constantly in la la land, we're actually turning it into something that can have a massive impact on the world. The entrepreneur success formula. You got to do what you love and figure out a way to bring value to other people doing it. When I started making my YouTube channel, I never thought I was going to make money. I did it because I love doing it. I did it because I wanted visual content. I'm a visual learner. I struggled in reading books. It took me a long time. When I read a book, unless it's really short chapters and really spaced out well, I would find myself reading 5 pages of the book and then realizing I read 5 pages and I have no idea what I just read. So I had to go back and read those 5 pages again. I would look how long a chapter was and see, oh my gosh, it's 40 pages, this chapter is gonna kill me. I read because I needed to, because I wanted knowledge, but it was a really inefficient way for me to learn. I'm a visual learner. I like to see things. And so I said, well, why hasn't somebody made this? And I wanted to be around successful, famous entrepreneurs because I didn't have anybody in my life who had achieved what I wanted to achieve. And so that was the root of why I started making my videos and my content. And before YouTube, I had my website, which was similar idea of sharing the stories of famous entrepreneurs and what you can learn from their success. So I did it for myself and then figured out how can I do this so that I can make money doing it, so that I can do this as my full-time thing, so that I can recruit a team of people to help me do this. So now we've got a team of people who are all building these channels with me so I can create even more impact and make even more videos. The combination led first with what I love doing. I want to create content that speaks to 19-year-old Evan who is struggling, who doesn't know what to do, who was making $300 a month, was broke, who wanted to do something big but had very little belief in himself and didn't have a plan for what to do next. I still make my videos for 19-year-old Evan. And I had to figure out a way to turn it into a profitable business so that I can have a bigger reach and be able to do this full-time plus and have a team to help me do it. Entrepreneur success formula, what you love doing with what brings value to other people. Okay, so how do we do it? How do we start to figure out that process? That's an easy formula, but underneath it, let's dive a little deeper to give you even more value. Step number 1 is embrace the and. Most people are thinking or. Most people are thinking, do I do this or do I do this? Do I do this business or do this business? If you think about your passions and your interests, right? What do you love doing? What's your heart-centered thing that you could do all day? You probably have a couple things and you feel like you have to pick. This is the mistake. People feel like you have to pick. You don't have to pick. The actual selection is in doing both of those things combined. A lot of people have said some amazing things of me. It's very humbling. I think of Ed Milet and Gary Vee, where Gary Vee called me the DJ that likes to watch so much content. and then spin it to inspire people. And Ed Milet said that I'm the modern day Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill is the biggest influence of all time in personal development, and I'm the modern day Napoleon Hill. First off, that's extremely humbling, but why are they saying that? This is how I'm unique, because I love consuming all of this stuff, and I love spinning it and mixing it up, as well as adding my own message to things. This is how I'm different. There's a lot of people who are just sharing their message, and there's a lot of people who are also mixing things together. But there's nobody who's really mixing things together and sharing their own message, right? So instead of looking at those two things as different, right? Like I have to pick, I got to pick this or this. Like I'm going to combine them, and that's how I'm going to be unique. So think about your different interests. What do you love doing? What are your top 2-3 things that you can get lost in, and they feel completely different? Your genius is going to be in actually mixing those things together in a way that's never been done before, and then using that to bring value to people. Stop thinking or, and instead embrace the and. Step number 2 is try to get as close to customers as possible. So it's great to be making, it's great to be creating, it's great to be, imagineering of where you could go. When you start to solve the problem for yourself, that's a great step 1, because there's probably a lot of people who currently are who you used to be, and seeing how you solved it for yourself, sharing the videos. I need the videos for myself, and then I share them, and it helps other people, right? So I solve the problem for me first, you solve the problem for you first, and know there's lots of people like you. But you need to start talking to customers. You need to start getting their feedback. You need to start seeing what they interact with. And that can help guide a lot of your future product or service creation. You need to get out of just sitting by yourself on your couch researching and into actually talking to people. So a quick example from my channel, the whole top 10 rules for success thing came because I just made one video on Kanye West. That's why he's, on the wall behind me. I made one video on him, and then people started requesting more. Hey, can you do Dame Dash? Hey, can you do Jay-Z? Hey, can you do Jeff Bezos? Hey, can you do Steve Jobs? Hey, can you do these people? And it's like, well, that's a cool idea. Sure, why not? I could do that. I never thought of it as being a whole series. I just wanted to give a tribute to Kanye West, and it was a one-off video. And then in the videos that people were suggesting, can you do this person, this person, this person, this person? I still get final say. We ended up having over 2,000 different requests for people to profile. I still get final say as to who we profile, because I have to feel connected to the message. And when I'm pulling out the content, if we're doing Kanye West or Steve Jobs, it's always something positive. It's always through a lens of belief, because that's what I want to put out. I don't want to put out Kanye West's biggest attacks or insults or negativity. I don't want to put out negativity in the world. I could easily done top 10 Kanye West stupidest things you've ever done. I'm not interested in putting that out. So it's that combination of what people are asking for. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Plus what I love doing, right? What I want to put my stake in the ground to say, I made this, right? This is the contribution that I'm trying to make to the world. Back to the entrepreneur success formula, right? What you love doing with what brings value to other people. So how to figure out what brings value to other people? You have to get as close to the customer as possible. Understand their business, understand what they're going through, understand their mindset. You solving the problem for yourself is a good first step. And then going into, okay, what are you struggling with? So number 1 is embrace the end. Number 2 is get as close as possible to the customer. And then number 3 is solve a problem. Solve a problem. As you're talking to customers, as you're talking to people who will be using your product or your service, who will be engaging with your content, as you're talking to these people, what is the problem that they're facing? What is the struggle? What is the challenge that they're facing? And then help them accomplish it. If I apply it to myself and the YouTube channels for context, one of the biggest challenges I think people have is a very poor environment. You've got people in your life who keep you where you are. Some people may be telling you that you can't do things. That's the worst case scenario. Some people might be cheering you on, but they can't guide you. You're not inspired by them. The people around you are not inspiring enough for you. And that's why you're stuck, because the environment is keeping you small. Where if you are around higher achievers, if you're around Tom Bilyeu and Oprah Winfrey and Elon Musk and these people, they would pull you to be better. And so that's the biggest problem that I see the entrepreneurs that I love helping. Is you're capable of more. You've got this big mission inside you. You've got the heart and the care and the willingness to serve. You've got everything, but you're not being pulled forward by anybody. And so I want to try to create that through content, because you may not be able to hang out with Tom Bilyeu and Elon Musk and Oprah Winfrey, but every day on YouTube, you can hang out with Tom Bilyeu, Elon Musk, and Oprah Winfrey. from the content that I'm going to make and create, right? So that's the problem that I'm trying to solve. And I get that because it was me who struggled with it, but also the people that I see who I connect with, who are watching the videos, they're leaving feedback for me. And I'm talking to them and I realize, you've got everything. You've got everything. You've got everything. You're just missing that environment to push you forward. So that's a problem that I solve. What is the problem that you solve? When you can combine your passions, right? Step number 1, you're combining your passions. Step number 2 is we're talking to customers, people who are going to use potentially what we can create. And then you're understanding what their problem is and you solve it for them. That's how we start to build a successful business. Back to the entrepreneur success formula. If you get this formula, if you apply it, it's simple, it's basic, and it's one of the most powerful things you can ever do. And it's one of the biggest reasons why entrepreneurs don't win, despite having the heart and the care and the service. You have to combine the thing that you love doing with all your heart with something that brings value to other people. Bring those things together, and you're on to your next successful business career. Good luck. Now, I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the good deed of the day. This is something new. I believe that you're built to serve, and it feels so good to do something nice for somebody else. So good deed of the day, put down in the comments one thing that you need help with, that you're working on, that you'd love some support or guidance on. And then 2, go comment on somebody else's comment and give them some love, give them some support, give them some encouragement, maybe give them some connections, try to help them solve that problem. Even if it's saying, I believe in you. That one little bit of encouragement can be the difference between somebody quitting and continuing on. So the good deed of the day, in the comments below, write down one thing that you need help on, that you're struggling with, that you're working on. And then part 2 is go give love to somebody else in the comments too, and let them know that you believe in them as well.
I love the book by my brother Evan Carmichael, Built to Serve, you guys. This is the kind of thing you get in this book. Most people wake up and drive to a job they hate. Think about your 5 closest friends. Are they happy? Do they live their lives with purpose? Do you? We put on a fake front for what we want people to see and think about us. But the reality is most people aren't happy. We're lost. We settle. You can't be happy if you don't know your purpose. And then he goes on to explain how to do that. You guys should get this book, Built to Serve, by my dear friend Evan Carmichael.
Always being honest with who you are, where you're at, what is true for you. Even if you can't say it to the outside world, always being willing to admit it to yourself is so unbelievably powerful. That was something that I had this really big crisis in my early 20s where I realized I was telling everybody that I wanted to be successful, but the way that I was acting was like I just wanted to feel good about being smart. And I didn't know enough to be successful if I was always trying to be the smartest person in the room. And so they came into conflict. And I remember the room I was in when that occurred to me that, hey, if what you want is to just feel smart, you need to quit this company, get the hell out. No judgment. If that's what you want to do, fine. I don't want to live in this sort of sketched out world anymore of where I talk this big game, all my ambition, all the things I'm going to do. But in reality, I spiral out of control the second I feel stupid. And I mean, it was devastating. I would lose days to being upset and traumatized and thinking badly about myself when something would occur that made me feel dumb. So anyway, I would argue for bad ideas just because they were mine. I needed to feel smart. And I realized, okay, hold on. This is a thing. So no judgment, be honest with yourself. And that opened the world to me. Once I wasn't trying to pretend that I was a certain way, and I was just really honest with myself about who I was at that moment. I was changeable and I was willing to believe that. But in being honest with where you're at, now you can put together a plan of action.
Listen and listen well, because no truer words are ever going to be fucking spoken. You can do anything you want without limitation. Whatever it is that you decide you want to make come true in your life, you can do that. It is going to take an inhuman amount of work. You're going to have to be prepared to break yourself in half. You are going to have to learn more than anyone has ever learned. You're going to have to push yourself harder than anyone has ever asked you to push yourself before. You're going to go way beyond your breaking point. You're going to run until you vomit. You're going to study until you fall asleep. You're going to push and push and push, and then you're going to push some fucking more. And when you hit the limit, you're going to push again beyond that. You're going to force yourself into an adaptation response. And why? Because as Malcolm X said, The future belongs to those who prepare for it today. So if you don't put the work in today, if you don't do the unending, back-breaking work of developing yourself into something greater, the world is going to pass you by. The people that are going to own it are going to be the ones that did that work. And the one promise that I can make you right now is that somebody out there is outworking you. Somebody right now is doing the things that I'm saying. Somebody right now is doing the work of failing and getting up and getting better and pushing themselves and triggering that glorious adaptation response that makes humans the apex predator. Someone right now, they're putting in that work. And if you don't, the future is going to belong to them. And as Martin Luther King Jr. said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. It's not okay to make excuses. It's not going to slow people down. It's not okay to ask the world to stop so that you can step out front. It's not okay to expect little of yourself and demand great rewards. The only thing that's okay is to be in line with the way that the world really works. And if you want to be great, you've got to become capable of greatness. You've got to develop your skill set. You've got to take what you have now, and if that's crawling, then crawl, but you drag yourself ever forward to a vision of yourself that is so clear and so specific that nothing could knock you off your path, because you, my friend, know exactly where you're going. You're willing to pay whatever price it takes to get there, and no matter what anybody says, no matter how many hecklers come for you, no matter how many people try to throw dirt on you, try to stop you, try to knock you down, no matter how many people come for you at night while you sleep, you will rise and you will keep pushing forward and you will get better every day. And no matter how many times people chop at you, knock you down, knock you off the path, you will get back on. You will crawl till you can walk, you will walk till you run, and then you will run until you fly. And that, my friends, is the only path forward. So if you want a future that makes you happy, if you want a world that you're excited about, get your ass out there and earn it. Recently, you talked about ditching patience, but I think patience helps in the long run. Why do you think ditching patience will help? This is so fascinating. So patience in the long run is the only thing that I can tell you is guaranteed to fail. There may be some advantage to the reason that people are telling you to have patience in the short term. Because here's what anybody telling you to have patience is trying to get you to understand one very simple thing. Whatever you're trying to accomplish, it takes a very long time. And so if you go into it and you're playing this short-term gain game, chances are you're going to do things that are damaging to your reputation long-term. That to me is not patience. That to me is playing the long game. You want to play the long game. You want to be authentic. You want to be a good person. You want to do good things for people. You want to invest in other people, not because you're being patient. Because patient to me is a very passive position. It's saying, look, I'm not going to go all out today, because at the end of the day, this is going to take time. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so I need to pace myself. That's what people hear when you tell them to be patient. I know, because I've seen it play out thousands of times. So what happens when you tell people be patient is you're telling them, hey, look, this is going to take a really long time anyway, so pace yourself. Here's the reality. And you're going to feel the truth of this instantly. Most dreams never come true. Most of the people that you know, most of the dreams that you've had for yourself, they haven't come true. Why not? Because they're brutally difficult. The world is going to resist you. It is not going to be easy to overcome entropy, to overcome inertia. The only way that you're going to overcome that stuff is to go all out every day, knowing that it's going to take a long time. But the only way that that dream is going to come true, even over that long period of time, is if you're going all out every day. So literally, a mantra in my life, and I cannot stress this enough. This is a cornerstone of why I've been able to achieve at the level that I've been able to achieve. Every day, everything I'm doing, I'm asking, why can't it be done faster? Why can't I accomplish more right now? That it's not okay to put something off even till tonight. I need to do it right now. Now, you need to get very good at prioritizing, because if you're trying to do everything right now, you're going to accomplish nothing. And if you're trying to be gimmicky or do shortcuts, all of that's going to fail, because none of that is playing the long game. But if ever you're allowing yourself to slow down because you simply are acknowledging that this stuff takes time, I'm telling you, it's never going to work. This is critical. Whatever it is that you're going to do in your life, if you have any interest in doing something extraordinary, if you have any interest in performing better than other people, if you have any interest in doing something that will be remembered, this is the takeaway for you. Pick one thing and do it with force and determination. The only way that you're going to be able to push past the mountain of obstacles that is going to try to stop you is to have maniacal focus, to know exactly what you want, to have clarity of purpose, to have a crystal clear vision in your mind of what you're trying to accomplish, something that you could tell anybody in a single sentence. When you have that and you stare at it all day and you think about exactly how you're going to make it happen and you tie your identity to it, then you've got a chance. Because then, my friends, when that obstacle comes before you, you will muster the force that you need to destroy that obstacle. And this is where this kind of aggressive language and thinking is going to help you, because they will not go quietly. And that's the problem that a lot of good, gentle, beautiful souls have, is when the time comes, they don't muster the force that's required to get what they want. And I know you know, like I do, somebody who's a beautiful person, who's a good human being that we wish good things for. But sometimes bad things happen because they don't stand up for themselves. And as Jocko Willink said, most of us aren't defeated in one decisive battle. We're defeated one tiny, seemingly insignificant surrender at a time that chips away at who we should really be. How important is rest, and how much do you get of it? I'm trying hard at the moment to pursue my dreams, but sometimes I feel out of balance because I lack sleep, for example. All right, boys and girls, I'm telling you, I'm just gonna be super arrogant for a second. I built $1 billion business without setting an alarm. Prioritize sleep. I work a lot. In fact, I'll take the Pepsi challenge. Anybody that wants to go head to toe with me in terms of what you get done, not just raw number of hours aimed at a computer or whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing and performing totally suboptimally. I'll just take the Pepsi challenge on that. I always prioritize sleep. I always prioritize my psychological optimization. So for instance, if I'm working around the clock, in fact, this happened not too long ago. I was just working so many hours and it ended up encompassing too many things that took more energy than they were giving, that I started to feel anxious. In fact, I started to feel claustrophobic. That's exactly how I felt. I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just like, it was driving me nuts. And I realized I need to chill for a minute. I need to meditate. I need to take an hour and go do something that's still moving me towards my dreams, because that's my thing, but that I really enjoy. And so maybe in those moments I go read a comic, because we're building a comic book publishing empire. So that's part of what I need to do anyway. But reading the comic is fun. I also need to meditate and just literally breathe from my diaphragm. So get the sleep that you need. That's super critical. You do not need to set an alarm. Sleep as much as you need to. And by the way, if you're doing things that are exciting to you, I know people, some of you are gonna believe me because hopefully I've earned the credibility with you up to this point, and some of you are gonna call total bullshit. You can ask my wife. I can set an internal alarm clock in my mind only if I'm excited about something or really stressed out, but that's a whole nother thing which I try hardly to do ever. But when I'm really excited about something, I can set an internal alarm clock. This morning, I told myself, wake up at 4:15. What time did I wake up, boys and girls? Not 4:14, not 4:16. I woke up at 4:15 because that was the time that I told myself to wake up. I can usually get within 5 minutes of what time I tell myself to wake up. It doesn't always work. And if I'm tired, I don't give myself that edict. I tell myself to sleep as much as I need. But when I'm really excited about something, there's something I want to get up and work on, and I'm afraid there just won't be enough time, and it's a reasonable amount of sleep, I'll say anything north of 5 hours, I can usually get myself to just wake up. So get the sleep, prioritize cognitive optimization, because then you're efficient, and efficiency is the name of the game. So sleep, sleep, sleep. I am not a guy proposing set your alarm, get up at 4 a.m. no matter what. It's not me. Go to bed early, get your sleep, meditate, get in a good, peaceful, calm, creative state so that you can really crush it. Would you be in favor of college students or anyone that may be considering it to take some time off to travel and experience as many new things as they can in order to find themselves? So absolutely, but not to find themselves. So you create yourself, you decide who you want to become, but figuring out who it is that you want to become, that is something that requires you to encounter a lot of things, to experience a lot of life. This is Kevin Kelly's whole notion of don't prematurely optimize. I think that some of the best advice young people are ever going to hear is you really want to go out and explore, discover new things so that you can find what it is that you find interesting. Then that's where the discovery process ends and the developing process begins. Then you begin to create this notion of who you want to become, and then you go down the path of becoming that, gaining those skills, developing mastery in a certain area. But first, really make sure, because you're going to give at least a decade of your life, if not more, to any one thing. So making sure that that's something that fills you up instead of chipping away at you is really, really important. And the only way to do that is to experience a whole lot of stuff. So yeah, I have no beef with taking that time off to go explore and discover new things. I think it's incredibly powerful. You've got two choices in life. Choice one, you can become somebody else. Choice two, you can become yourself. Now, I really wish that there was only one choice, but in truth, there's not. And most people choose to try to become someone else because it's a roadmap. It's points in a direction. You see someone, you respond to something, you admire them, you want to be like them. And in that process, you've made your decision. In that process, you've decided to become somebody else. You have mistaken the finger for the moon. Instead, you need to understand that being inspired by somebody does not mean to become that person, to become that which inspires you. It is to understand fundamentally, what is it about that thing that excites you? What is it? What is its essence? And when you can find its essence, then you can find out how it would apply to you becoming you. And as Zen Shi says, a flower does not think about competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms. And that's really your job, is to see the outside world, to see the flower next to you, to understand the amazing things that are happening all around you, all of the incredible people and the essence of what they have, and what it is that they've done to bring inside yourself and find out what does that look like when it's me. Not what do I look like when I'm them. And once you understand the difference between that, then you can really begin to be something unique. You can become that thing that you were meant to be, that thing that makes you feel alive and whole. And that's it. That's the secret. You're just trying to be something, not that's just inspiring to other people, but that you actually want to wake up every day and be. And that's the thing about it. There's no escaping you. Whatever you become, a lie, the truth, somebody else, yourself, whatever it is, you're going to spend every day of your life there. And as Albert Einstein said, everybody's a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. And that's what confuses people. People believe that they're dumb because they're not finding their path. They're not defining things based on what excites them and what they want to live with every day. They're just looking to what the outside world says is good. And I think it's incredible that there are other people doing things that are so extraordinary that we aspire to be like that. But you have to understand the difference between being like someone and trying to actually be them.
We talk of self-esteem in one of two ways. Either as the sole determinant of success or as the ultimate enemy. Most people build their self-esteem around their accomplishments. They feel good about themselves if they're making the most money, they're dating the hottest person, or they've built the best product. They get caught in the rat race of validating themselves against the person who happens to be standing next to them. But there's a fundamental flaw with this equation. Because when your ego is that attached to your success, it's devastated by your failures. And what the most successful people know is you cannot leave your self-worth in the hands of anyone else.
The most successful people get their pride from a different source, one that does not fluctuate with their successes and failures.
So I knew I couldn't give up my self-esteem. I couldn't accept some weird role where I just was always the dumbass sitting in the corner. If I pride myself on being smart and you tell me I'm dumb and you put up a pretty good case for it, that's gonna damage my self-esteem. My self-esteem in that situation is very fragile. If, on the other hand, you tell me that I'm dumb and I build my self-esteem around being the learner, now I'm gonna say thank you. Please tell me in what way that I'm dumb, because you will open my eyes to something that now I can address, and I can go learn about that thing, and I will have a new skill, and I can go out and push and execute against that skill. One of the most powerful things that you could do is become the person that admits that you're wrong really fast. And it's crazy how much credibility you will earn with people simply by admitting I was wrong. Like 30 seconds ago, I was fighting so hard for something. I was really fighting for my position, and then somebody says something and I realize that's actually better. Imagine that. The more you try to tell me I'm dumb, the more areas that you point out that I'm weak, the more things you tell me I need to learn about, my eyes are open to something that, if true, I'm gonna go down that path and I'm gonna learn how to do that. And that is absolutely critical.
What are your thoughts on changing reality with thoughts and repetitions? Will this work, or is it just a theory? Okay, so there's no doubt that the way that the brain rewires itself is through repetition. Neurons that fire together wire together. So you very much can create reality. I want to say that it isn't, unfortunately, like the Matrix, but it's so close that you might as well think of it like that. But to me, that's just a metaphor to get people to understand that you really can influence your hardwiring in your own brain, and you certainly can influence the outside world by gaining a set of skills that allow you to go out and manipulate it. And I'll give you a super easy example. Learning to build a house means you can actually build a house, and you can manifest that and turn a tree or concrete into a physical structure.
Now, the Matrix to me is a simple metaphor. I don't actually believe that we're living in a computer simulation, and even if we are, I don't think that it matters. But what does matter is your entire life is being lived by your brain. Now, what do I mean by that? If you know a guy named David Eagleman, he wrote a book called Incognito. In the book Incognito, he makes one thing abundantly clear. You live in a virtual environment, whether you realize it or not. That virtual environment is created by the 3 pounds of squishy material between your ears. Think about this. Your brain never touches light. Your brain is encased in a bone box in total darkness, and yet it takes photons that fall on the eye and turns it into electrochemical stimulus, and from that, it paints this environment. It fakes the sense of depth. Think about this for a second. There's not some little image of this room projected into the back of my mind. This is all being turned into electrochemical stimulus, and my brain then manufactures this environment. There's actually a dime spot blank part in your field of vision where each optic nerve connects to your eyes, and yet you have no experience of it. That is completely invisible to you, even though it's massive and it's dead center in your eyes. The reason that you don't experience it is because your brain fills it in. Your brain makes a guess as to what would be there, and your brain is so good at guessing and so good at presenting it as if it were real that you have no sense. It is completely seamless to you. When I heard that, I remember getting the chills and setting the book down and saying, my brain is lying to me. That rat. Now, the question becomes, if this is all made up, if the sense of distance between you and I is completely manufactured by my brain and it's not real, meaning what I see of it, it's real enough in that if I walk, I'll hit you at about the point that I'm expecting to bump into you because my brain can create that sense of distance. But it's doing it by translating those signals. It's manufacturing this space. So if that's true, and my brain fills in the gaps, does my brain also have biases? And the answer is yes. Neuroscience has gone deep into how many different biases that we have as humans. I'll give you one because this one is profoundly impactful. You're more likely to believe something negative than you are something positive. Now think about how that can echo through your life. Each of us has to realize that all of the beliefs that we have in our life are choices. The scary part about the most important beliefs in your life is most of them are invisible. I'm going to give you a couple questions that will highlight invisible beliefs that you have that are controlling your life, that are exactly why I say the matrix has you, because depending on how you answer these questions will determine your life. And if you don't recognize something scary in your own answers, think about the people that you love, that you want to help and you can't, and you wonder why. The answer is almost certainly related to how they answer some of these questions. Number one, this comes from Einstein. He said, the most important decision any human being must make is whether or not you live in a friendly or a hostile universe. Now, he could have said realization, but he didn't. He said decision. You have to decide, because there is no empirical truth. You don't live in either a friendly or a hostile universe. You decide. And that perception, that viewpoint from which you judge everything else that happens in your life will be colored by whether or not you think it is a universe that is working for you or against you. And it's a choice. But most people think of their viewpoint as being patently real, as being just objective and true. And so they never stop to question the fact that they actually decided that at some point, either because their parents acted in accordance with that it was either hostile or friendly, and they just absorbed that, or their friends or the people that they work with or whatever. But somewhere along the line, they came to believe that they live in either a friendly or a hostile universe. But you could change right now. Right now, you could make a different decision. And if you believe that the world is working against you right now, you could choose to believe that it's actually working for you. And in making a fundamentally new and different assumption, it empowers you to move forward. And this is something that I will repeat in this talk. The reason that matters is human beings do not invest energy in things that they don't think will yield a result.
How do I find my passion? Asking how you find your passion makes the assumption that your passion has been lost somewhere. Your passion has not been lost. Your passion has never been developed. Passions are created, they're constructed, they're developed. And it starts with interest.
One of the greatest misconceptions of our time is that your passion is something hidden inside of you. Michael Jordan wasn't born dreaming of slam dunks. Bill Gates' first word wasn't Microsoft. Even Elon Musk didn't start by reaching for Mars. But there is something different about these extraordinary minds. But it isn't what they were born with. It's something they had to learn to build, brick by brick.
Now, once you have that, you've got to start going deep into gaining mastery. And it's in the process of gaining mastery that you're going to find out if that interest turns into a love, then turns into a passion. People who are passionate are willing to fight through the boredom. Now, they're not doing it thinking, oh my God, this is so much fun. They're thinking, I want to win. I want to play at the highest level, and I am willing to break myself in half. And this is the thing that I cannot get entrepreneurs to understand. If you want to be great, I promise you, as Tommy said, you already have in you what you need, which is the ultimate evolution-approved ability to adapt. So you can change to get great. You can change to become whatever you need to, but it is the people that are willing to literally break themselves in half to get the result that they want.
Your passion isn't something hidden inside of you that's going to reveal itself magically over a cup of coffee. It is not going to come knocking at your door. It's something you have to go out and build.
As Confucius said, when it's obvious that the goal cannot be reached, don't adjust the goals, adjust the action steps. That may be the single best piece of advice you're ever going to get. Write that down, burn it into your flesh, tattoo it on your soul, do whatever you need to do to remember that once you set a goal, once you've decided in your life there is something that you're going to make come true, don't let anything stop you from reaching that. But the reality is, as you go, things are going to get in your way. There will be an inevitable slew of obstacles coming at you. But when it gets so hard that you realize that the path that you're on is simply not going to take you where you want to go, rather than give up on what it was you said you were going to do, find a different path. And in that, when you really make that the cornerstone of your identity, that you refuse to bend or be broken by obstacles, by challenges, but instead you rise to those challenges. You go over, under, through them. You do whatever you have to. You devise any plan to find a way through. Then your life will change. Once that becomes your reaction, to not change that thing that meant so much to you, that you dedicated your life to making it come true, that you don't change that, but rather you find another way. You tap into your creativity. You find somebody that can help you. You do whatever it takes to get on the other side of that. You do whatever it takes to build that life that you want to see. But if your reaction is to change your goal, to make it easier, to move it closer, to be less of who you could be, simply so you can check a box, you're never going to have anything that's worth having.
Why? Like, if you had to boil it down, why do most people fail? Got it locked? The answer is they never start. Now, the reason that most people never start is because they don't think that they're going to get a result from their actions. And then that's going to come down to a belief that they believe about themselves. I'm too stupid. I'm not good enough. I don't have the natural talent. I wasn't born at the right time or in the right neighborhood. My parents didn't teach me that. That's why most people fail. There's a great quote by Amelia Earhart. I'll paraphrase. The hard thing is taking the first step. Everything else is just persistence. And I've always loved that quote because it's so true. It doesn't mean that you're going to get it right. It doesn't mean that just because you start, you're going to win. In fact, most likely, the first thing you do, you're going to fail. Think about all the times that you guys tried something and it failed, or the first time when you tried to get the business going and it didn't work, or the first house you tried to sell and nobody went for it, or the first time that you lost money. And the question is, what did you do then? If you learned from it, doubled down, figured it out, focused only on the truth, then you'll move forward. You move forward because you believe you can learn. And that's that thing, hiding in that. And this is the thing, when people ask me, hey, my mom or my wife or my husband, whatever, they don't have that belief system. They don't have what Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset. How do I get them there? The answer is you don't, until they are convinced that they can learn anything that they put their mind to, that their energies double down into that area of gaining skills will actually pay off with a real world ability to do something new. They're not going to act.
Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest athletes of our time, would show up on game day, and if he saw anybody else at the gym as early as him, even though he was always the first on the court, he would end up practicing longer than that person. And I had the honor of interviewing one of those people one time. And he said, I went up and asked Kobe, we have a game in an hour. Like, what are you doing out here practicing so long? And Kobe said, I needed you to know that I was willing to outwork you. And in that game, they ended up winning. And that lesson stuck with that guy forever. When you're willing to put in the work, when you're willing to take control of your environment and put yourself through the stressors required for adaptation, you literally can become anything. And my life is proof of that. I hear people talk about luck a lot, and I know that people think about the role that luck plays in their life. But the reality is, luck is all around. Luck is ever present. Luck literally is coming to you every day. It's passing you by. It's happening to you right now. But the question is, are you able to take advantage of the luck? Have you prepared for the luck? And I think that it comes down to we have a misconception about what luck is. We think of luck as something as being passive, that we sit, we wait, we're in some obscure place, and still somehow the luck finds us. But the reality is we're awash in luck. What we're missing is the ability to make use of it. If you have a bunch of bullets but no gun, you really have nothing. If you have a gun but no bullets, the same thing. The magic moment comes together when you have two things that work in conjunction and you have them both. You can't have luck without the diligence. You can't have success without the skills. You've got to spend your life preparing to capitalize on that luck. And to look at what somebody has done, to look at a moment of success in their life and to say that it was luck is to create a frame of reference for you in which you can't see how you yourself could leverage what you have to get lucky.
One thing I want to make really clear, and if you ignore everything else, this is the one where you stop and you pay attention, because this could save years of your life. The game you're playing is not success. The game you're playing is not money. The game you're playing is brain chemistry. The only thing that matters in life, truly, the only thing that matters in life is what you think about yourself when you're by yourself and have nothing but your own thoughts. If in that moment you feel good about who you are, who you're becoming, what you're capable of, and what you're willing to do to make a better future for yourself, those you care about, and other people around you, you will love your life. It is the single most pleasurable neurochemical state is deep fulfillment. Okay? Not happiness. A bowl of ice cream brings me a lot of happiness, but it is a very transient experience. Deep and lasting fulfillment matters, and what that comes down to is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself.
The piece of advice that I always give to somebody, whether it's an entrepreneur or somebody who wants to be the greatest parent of all time, what is your goal? You've got to start with your goal. Everything works backwards from that. Simon and I did a video that essentially broke the internet about millennials. Somebody watched it. What got Simon on the world stage is this whole concept of why. You've got to know why you're doing what you're doing. If you're just showing up every day to cut and dye hair, to keep your lights on, you're going to have far less energy to make it through the hard times than somebody who is there to help transform somebody, to help make somebody their best, to help them feel their best. And I hope that you guys saw that video not too long ago of the hairdresser that went around and he was doing makeovers on homeless people. Right? Man, it was incredible. It was so beautiful. The look on their face at that moment where they see themselves for the first time in front of the mirror and they are seeing something totally new. They're seeing a version of themselves that they did not know was there. And the ability to give that gift, like it is so easy to get lost in the day-to-day grind of what you do, what any of us do. But if at the core driving you is a deep and unending why for what you're doing, you've got something. Now you've got a chance to transcend what you're doing. And the way that happens is very tactical. It has nothing to do with like woo-woo being out there. It's none of that. You're gonna have the energy that you need to fight through. People always ask me how I generate energy.
We get to decide who we are. There's no objective truth that you're going to find or uncover. You're simply the collection of the things that you believe to be true about yourself. And once you begin to form that opinion of who you are, you'll act in accordance with that belief. You begin to shape a vision of yourself in your own mind, and that becomes the reality. So letting other people influence that, letting other people come in and degrade what you think of yourself is one of the most dangerous and damning things that you could do, because they cloud your ability to craft a vision of the person that you want to become. And that vision is so hard for all of us to hold on to that we have to protect it. We have to keep other people out of that. We've got to have intention in creating the person that we want to become.
You are all hopelessly average by birth. We all are. And that's the great news. Because the most important thing to understand about the human species, we are the ultimate adaptation machine. If you guys were paying attention, not too long ago, they sequenced the human genome and they realized that the human genome has 20,000 genes. And everybody, they thought that they were going to cure cancer, all the diseases, age-related disease, everything, type 1, type 2 diabetes was all going to be a thing of the past. We were going to have it figured out. And then we realized that an onion has more genetic diversity than we do. And how could that be? And so they're literally going, is this really possible? Do we misunderstand something? Like, how is it that an onion has more genetic diversity than we have? And somebody finally said, hey, maybe all this stuff that we've been referring to as junk DNA, maybe it actually plays a role. And then they began to realize that all that junk DNA that was outside of those 20,000 genes that we saw expressing themselves is what is called epigenetics. Now, if you've ever heard of epigenetics, that's amazing. You're way ahead. If you haven't heard of epigenetics, let it become one of the most important things in your life, because epigenetics is what has made us the most dominant species this planet has ever seen. It is the only thing that you need to know. It's what I call the only belief that matters. The only belief that matters is that you can learn anything. I don't need you to believe that you're good now. That doesn't matter. Who you are now is totally irrelevant. The only thing I want to know, who are you willing to become and what's the price you're willing to pay to get there? And that's what humans are designed to do. If you put us under stress, we can learn something new. We can get better.
What are some ways that I can stop giving this negative feedback to myself? Okay, so first of all, you've got to train yourself to use the negative thoughts that you have as a habit loop trigger of something positive. That's the first step to all of this. So I don't think anybody is going to be able to get rid of the negative voice. And even if you could, I actually don't think you would want to. I think the reality is you want to use that as your jujitsu flip to get over to the positive way of thinking, to get into that positive habit loop, to remind yourself that even if you're not good at it yet, you can get good at it, that you're going to learn by whatever you're doing.
I don't think people really realize we construct our lives. We build them from nothing. We decide what our goals are. We decide in what way to move. We decide who we're going to become and what we're going to get. But it's a decision, it's a process. It isn't something that somebody hands to you. And so if you find that your life is a misery, understand that your life is an exact reflection of your choices. And if you want a different life, you need only make a different choice. But I know right now, many of you are thinking, but I don't know what way to go. I don't know what choice to make. I don't know what it is that I want to do. And as Roy Maurice Keane said, I don't believe skill was or ever will be the result of coaches. It is a result of a love affair between the child and the ball. So ask yourself, what's that thing that you love? And don't judge yourself if it was something that you loved as a child that people are telling you couldn't possibly make money. And it's that part of the equation that I want to break for people. I want you to understand. Stop asking yourself what you can make a lot of money at, and start asking yourself, what would you enjoy? What is that life that you don't need to escape from? What is the life that is your love? What is the thing that as a kid you did, whether people wanted you to or not? What is the thing you would sneak out at night to do because you weren't going to be stopped from doing it? Everybody has something like that in their life. Some spark of interest, maybe long dormant, maybe that they've pushed aside because they think it's stupid. Or maybe they failed once and they think they're bad at it. And even though they love it, that sting of the failure has convinced them to stop pursuing it. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what gives you that energy. At the end of the day, the thing that matters is what fills you with joy. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters, it's not success. And it sure as hell isn't money. It's how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. It's the things that give you energy. It's what you think about yourself. It's how you react to the hard things. It's whether or not you push through. And when you push through, when you persevere, when you go down the process of taking the time to structure your life, to build it into something that you want it to be, to build it into something that you're proud of, to become the person that's capable of the things that you want to do, that can first fall in love with something and do it for the love of it and not worry about what other people think. If you hate your life, I guarantee you the thing is that you are trapped by what other people think. You don't want to give it up because somebody will think you're a failure. You don't want to give it up because it's a paycheck. You don't want to give it up because you're scared. You're scared you don't know what you'll do next. But imagine a world for a second where all you thought about was what do you love? What do you enjoy in that moment? It doesn't matter if it changes from day to day. Just what do you love? What fills you with joy? What gives you that energy? At the end of the day, the only thing that we all have is right now, this moment. It's what you're experiencing. Loving what you do, how you spend your time. That's the point of all of it. The point of life is that. In each transient moment that passes by, doing something that fills you with joy. Nobody can give you that. You've got to build that life. So go out. figure out what it is that you want to do. And brick by brick, have the courage to build that life. People get stuck. They become so dogmatic. They become so convinced that they're right. And that feeling of being right gives them a sense of self-worth. And I'm telling you right now, with compassion, because I want to see you win, valuing yourself for being right is a trap. Thinking of yourself as smart is a trap. And I get it, man. I know how good it feels when you're right, when you had the right idea and it goes out and it wins. That feels so good. But if you can recognize that over time, it can only paint you into a corner, because the world changes, the world is adapting. The very thing that makes humans the ultimate apex predator is that we adapt. Charles Darwin said, it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but rather the most adaptive to change. You've got to be willing to change. You've always got to be willing to seek out disconfirming evidence. You've got to hunger for it. You've got to want to be proven wrong. You've got to literally invite people into your world that are going to point out flaws in your thinking, because your thinking has already taken you as far as it's going to. So if you want to get farther, if you want to get to that next level, you've got to stop valuing yourself for who you are, what you think, how smart you are, when you're right, when you're wrong. All of that is irrelevant. You've got to value yourself entirely on your willingness to admit that you're wrong. You've got to value yourself on your willingness to learn. You've got to value yourself for your willingness to sit humbly at somebody's feet and seek their wisdom. To not try to be the hero, but instead to try to be the one that collects the knowledge. When you can flip over into that, when you can value yourself for a willingness to stare nakedly at your own inadequacies, you'll start to make progress in life. But no matter how far you've gotten, no matter how much you've won, no matter how certain you are, no matter how much the things you've done in your life have proven to be correct, as Charlie Munger says, you must force yourself to consider arguments on the other side. You can always reject them. You can always look at it and really think about it and say, at the end of the day, it's just not correct. But when you're trying to hold on to your ideas simply because they're your ideas, or simply because they worked in the past, or simply because you like them, you will fall into a trap of dogma, and you'll no longer be able to see fresh ideas and move in new directions. But if you're willing to acknowledge that this world is constantly moving, it's ever changing. The only thing true about the future, always and forever, is that things change. And if your thinking doesn't change, you'll never be able to keep up. So if you want to do something extraordinary with your life, step number one, always seek out that disconfirming evidence. Always look at arguments from the other side. If you're able to do that, then you'll always be able to stay ahead of the curve, and aging won't be a problem, because you're going to stay fresh in your mind. You become invincible when you bend and not break, and that's what this kind of mindset will allow you to have. So if you want to win, stop thinking about how you're right and start asking how you're wrong.
If you want another amazing David Goggins video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
We surround ourselves around people that make us feel great. They tell us what we want to hear. The second we put ourselves amongst the uncommon people, we don't like that feeling.